Hi there, it's Gabrielle Nicolay from SpeechKids, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about flexibility and how that comes out in play and why it's important. And one of the reasons I'll tell you up front is that one of the reasons it's important is because it's leveraging all of those other social communication skills and sort of using them in a real world situation. And so I'm going to give you an example of sort of rigidity in play and then also flexibility in play. So rigidity in play, and I know we talk a lot about kids, at least I see a lot of kids who line up toys. And lining up toys in and of itself is not a problem. Okay? Lining up toys is like a nice way to make order. You can make pretty patterns. You can do all the things. The problem is when kids are lining up toys and the order doesn't change, or they get very upset if somebody else changes the order, or if the only thing that's happening in the play is that they're lining up the toys, right? That the whole reason is to just have them be in a line. So that's an example of sort of rigidity in play, and I have my little characters here. I have had kids who, when they're lining up their characters, and here's Elmo and Abby and Cookie Monster, right? It only can go in one order. That's an example of extreme rigidity. And when I see that, I know it's an opportunity for us to expand and get more flexibility, right? By making a tiny, tiny little change. See what I did there? Tiny change. The first time I do that with a kiddo, so let's say order is, right, Abby, Elmo, Cookie. The first time I move Elmo over here, I'm going to get tons of resistance. That is not allowed. That is not the game. Okay? So then we got to move it back real fast because we always want to stay in our zone of motivation, right? So that we can tolerate this increase in flexibility. Okay? We just make one small little change and then we put it back. And then we make another small little change and we put it back. Okay, so that's kind of beginning stages of increasing flexibility in play, and an example of how rigidity can be seen. An example of flexibility in play is the child who starts off building an airport with the blocks, and then realizes, oh, airports are attached to cities by roads, and so they build a road with the blocks. And then they get to the city and they build a city with the blocks. And so now the airport is attached by the road, is attached to the city, and then they think, oh, but I've got these animals here, so maybe I'll make a zoo. So do you see how all of that sort of thinking and it sort of naturally proceeds? It seems obvious, and yet for many kids, it's not. And so we have to make these tiny, tiny little changes to increase that flexibility. Now, here comes somebody, so I'm building my airport, right? And here comes somebody who says, well, I want to make a tower. If we leverage all those social communication skills, we say, okay, but I'm building the airport and you can have these blocks to build the tower. But here's what happens for a lot of my clients is they collapse in a puddle because they can't quite see how that's going to work. Right? Because they don't have the theory of mind. They don't have the central coherence. They don't have sort of the ability, many of them, to have the flexibility on top that allows them to then say, yeah, here you go. Here are some blocks for you. So that's sort of how flexibility in play leverages all of the skills that we've been talking about for social communication and makes it possible then to kind of navigate the world. And flexibility doesn't just happen in play, it happens kind of every day, all day long, right? You forgot where you put your keys, you've got to be flexible and creative and sort of figure out where your keys are. And there are so many different examples of how we have to sort of be flexible in our day. Play is one of the ways, is the major way that kids learn these skills, and so that's why we spent some time today talking about that. But flexibility is huge.